Hey, second grade. Welcome back to reading time. We have our A to Z mystery, the Panda Puzzle, that we are reading. The little baby panda was kidnapped yesterday. They only have 12 hours to find the panda. So we're on chapter 3. I'm hungry, Nate announced. Can we go home? Okay, said Ruth Rose. I'll make us some sandwiches. And I've got to get to my office and check these things for fingerprints, Officer Phelan said. But unless this guy was silly, he would have worn gloves. They separated at the police station. Dink, Josh, Ruth Rose, and Nate headed for Woody Street. At Ruth Rose's house, the kids made lunch. Nate took his sandwiches to the living room to watch a dinosaur video. Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose ate theirs at the kitchen table. Pal snoozed at Josh's feet. It's almost 1 o'clock, Dink said. 11 hours till midnight. So where do we start looking for a panda kidnapper? Asked Josh. It could be anyone, Dink said. Ruth Rose chewed slowly. Not anyone, she said after a minute. If that knife really was the kidnapper's, maybe he's a fisherman. Or a fisherwoman, said Josh. Ruth Rose nodded. Good point. Whoever it was either has a key to the gate or can climb over tall fences. Josh went on. He reached for another sandwich. So who does that narrow it down to? Anyone, Ruth Rose said, gloaming. Nate screeched from the living room. Dinosaur fight! Come and see, you guys! Josh ran to the living room with Dink and Ruth Rose following. On the TV screen, a Tyrannosaurus and a Stegosaurus were circling each other. Their tails lashed back and forth. The Tyrannosaurus roared and snapped his enormous teeth. Then the dinosaurs were gone, and the scene switched to a museum. A man's face appeared on the screen. Hello, I'm Dr. Palo, he said, and I'd like to talk to you about what you just saw in this video. An idea popped into Dink's head. Ruth Rose, didn't you tape what happened at Panda Park this morning? Why don't we watch your video? Maybe we'll see some clues. Good idea, Ruth Rose said. Do you mind, Natey? Can I have a cookie? Nate asked, grinning at his sister. Sure, bring the box in here so we can all have some, okay? Okay, Nate said, racing toward the kitchen. Ruth Rose ejected the dinosaur video, then plugged the camcorder into the VCR. Nate came back with a cookie box. Josh reached in for one as Ruth Rose hit the play button. The kids watched as Tom Steele, Irene Naper, and Flip Francis came on the screen. Seconds later, Ping, the mama panda, emerged from her cage. Ping looked around, froze, then turned her head sharply. Suddenly, she rushed forward and began throwing herself at the fence. She sure looks angry, Dink said. You'd be mad too if someone stole your baby, Josh said. It looks like she's trying to attack someone outside the fence. Someone in the crowd? Ruth Rose asked. She's not looking at the crowd, Dink said. He puts his fingers on the TV screen. Remember, the microphone was there off to the side. That's where she's looking. She's mad at the microphone, Josh asked, grabbing 2 more cookies. Dink's right, Ruth said. Ping is looking at the people standing at the microphone. Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose stared at the TV screen. Finally, Ruth Rose unplugged the camcorder and put Nate's dinosaur tape back into the VCR. I think one of those 3 people kidnapped Winnie, she said, and Ping knows which one. There's all the kids, and of course Pal, eating their cookies and watching the videotape. So they're thinking one of those 3 reporter people stole Winnie, Ping's baby, Winnie. Chapter 4. You think Winnie's kidnapper was standing right there at the microphone, Dink asked. Ruth Rose nodded. Yes, and I think Ping recognized him or her. That's why she charged the fence. But the guy probably stole Winnie at night, Dink said. So how could Ping have seen him? Maybe she didn't see him, Ruth Rose said, but she might have smelled him. Right, Josh said.
Hello, kids. How we doing today? Have a good day.
Oh, Mr. Kyle, I tell ya. Most animals can smell a lot better than humans. Dink stared at the TV screen. So, how do we figure out who Ping was growling at? He asked. Too bad pandas can't talk, Josh said. We could just ask her. Pandas can't talk, Ruth said, but people can. I say we interview the 3 people who were standing at the microphone, starting with Irene Naper. You think she did it? Dink asked. I don't know, Ruth said, but she does have the key to the gate. If she thinks we suspect her, she might clam up, Josh said. Ruth Rose pointed at Dink's notebook. We'll tell her we're writing a story for the Panda paper. Good idea, Dink said. Josh stood up and patted his stomach. I have to be home by 4 to watch the twins for an hour, he said. Ruth Rose grabbed the cookie box. It was empty. Joshua didn't get a single cookie. Oh, sorry. Joshua, I didn't get a single cookie, she said. Josh grinned. Detective work makes me hungry. Josh woke up Pal, and the kids left Ruth Rose's house. She took a shortcut through the rose garden in the Central Park. Pal barked at a swan being trailed by three birds. They passed the book nook and waved at Mr. Paskey in his window. At the petting zoo, they passed under a wooden arch. A honeysuckle vine climbed the arch, filling the air with a sweet smell. A hummingbird darted away. They found Irene Naper surrounded by ducks. She was feeding them pellets, and she pulled from one of her uniform pockets. Hi, Mrs. Napers, Ruth Rose said. So there they are, walking under the honeysuckle arch. Well, hi, said Irene. Say, weren't you kids at Panda Park this morning? Yeah, we're sorry about the kidnapping, Josh said. Irene's smile disappeared. I'm so angry I don't know what to do, she said. Who would steal a baby panda? No one knew what to say. Good thing Winnie's old enough to eat bamboo, Irene said. If she still needed her mother's milk, I don't think she'd make it. Ruth Rose nudged Dink. We're writing a story for the Panda paper, Dink said. Could we ask you some questions? The woman looked at Dink for a moment. Yeah, I guess, she said. Just then, Pell barked, and the ducks scattered. But first, let's move your dog away from the ducks, Irene said. The kids followed Irene to a shady bench. She sat down and stretched out her long legs. Pal sighed and dropped to the ground. Irene started stroking his ears. Dink noticed that Irene's hands were large and strong-looking. Everyone was waiting for Dink to ask a question, but Dink's mind was suddenly blank. So, that's Irene. Who takes care of Ping and Winnie? Asked Ruth Rose. I do, Irene said. I feed them, clean out their area, all that stuff. Ping even lets me hold her baby. Dink wrote down what Irene said. Then he asked, when did you last see Winnie? Last night, Irene said, when I added fresh water to their pool. That was about 8 o'clock. So someone snatched her between then and 10 o'clock this morning, Ruth Rose said. Irene nodded. Dink thought she might cry. Dink had his next question already. How many people have keys to the gate? He asked. Irene looked at him. Only me, she said finally. She patted a key ring hanging from her belt. And trust me, this was never out of my sight. Whoever took Winnie didn't unlock that gate. A duck waddled over and pecked at Irene's boots. She reached into her pocket and found a few more pellets and flung them to the ground. I've got to get back to work, she said, standing up. She glanced down at Dink's notebook. Good luck with your story. Thanks, Dink said. By the way, do you know where Tom Steele lives? Irene shook her head. No, but you'll probably find him at his office. Dink looked blank. His office? It's in the senior community center, Irene said. She gave him a suspicious look. I'm surprised you don't know that, since you're writing a story for him. That takes us to chapter 5. And we're going to stop there for today. We'll pick up with chapter 5 tomorrow. Have a great day, second grade.